I tend to slow things down when I'm riding alone. With no one around to help, I need to make sure I'm making the right call, especially with a crossing like this. And when it's time to commit, I commit. I was only a few kilometers into a hydro line cutting through the backcountry, and my boots were already soaked. Days like this are about exploring, following trails I've only seen on satellite images, and seeing what's actually out here. I know a lot of people would feel uncomfortable heading out like this alone, especially into hard-to-reach areas. Mechanical issues, accidents, there's always a chance something could go wrong. I couldn't tell you how many times I've heard people say I shouldn't venture out alone. To an outsider, it might seem reckless. And sure, there's risks, but to me, it's calculated. Every line I take, every piece of gear I bring, every choice I make comes from years of experience traveling through this terrain, mostly alone, on a bike or in a canoe. Let's go over the river crossing from the start. I got off the bike to gather as much information as I could. How strong is the current? What's under the water? Which line is best? And the biggest question, what's my worst case scenario? In this case, worst case meant dumping the bike and hiking back to the main road. I felt the chances of that happening were slim. I was confident in my choice and committed to the crossing. After a few kilometers on this rocky track, I came across a lake tucked beside the trail. 2 beautiful campsites were already established there. I checked them out, saved their pins to my GPS, and then kept heading north, curious to see what else this trail had in store. Through these rock gardens, I take my time and let the trail set the pace. I don't want to rush into a bad line, or worse, a flat tire. I lean into the KLR's tractor factor and let it crawl its way through. Here, I'm dropping into a steep rock garden with big drops and off-camber sections. As I make my way down, I manage my speed carefully and focus on my line, thinking about ground clearance. I don't want to hang up the bike on the skid plate and have it react unpredictably. Admittedly, I didn't stop here to scope it out, but it ended up going smoothly. By the time I reached the end of the hydro line, I was pleasantly surprised, both by the scenery and the technical sections along the trail. It's definitely one I'll be revisiting, maybe even for a camp by the lake. I'll have to keep an eye on water levels though, since that river crossing could probably swallow my KLR earlier in the season. Heading to the next section of trail was a welcome change of pace. I flowed through the countryside, enjoying some spectacular gravel roads and paved curves along the way. My first-gen KLR is my go-to bike for rides like this. It strikes a near-perfect balance between on-road and off-road performance. It's comfortable on the transits to and from riding areas, but I also know I can take it through just about anything once the pavement ends. That paired with its dead simple design, proven reliability, and a giant gas tank makes it a bike I can truly depend on as a tool for exploration. And maybe most importantly, it's a manageable size for me. I know that if it goes down, or if it gets stuck, I can pick it up or drag it out on my own. That matters when you're riding solo like this. Any bigger or heavier, and I wouldn't feel comfortable taking it this far off the beaten path alone. After a spirited ride through the forest, I came across another water crossing. It didn't look especially deep, but it was long. Off the side of the trail, I noticed what looked like a bypass. While turning around, I had a bit of a KLR moment and dropped the bike in the sand. I picked it up and headed up the bypass. Once I made it up and around the water, I found a quiet spot to stop and enjoy lunch. While I was there, 2 other riders rolled in. One on a 3rd gen KLR and the other on a DR650. We chatted for a bit, and since we were both headed in the same direction, I asked if I could tag along. They mentioned they'd recently gotten back into off-road riding and were just out for a relaxed afternoon ride. Riding together for a bit was a nice change of pace, and I was glad to join them for the next stretch. Eventually we parted ways, and I still had a couple of hours of riding left to get home. I picked up the pace to make up some time, and the rest of the trail was fast and flowy, a great way to end the day. I enjoy riding with others, but solo days like this are still my favorite. You get to set your own pace and make your own calls as the ride unfolds. There's also something special about being alone out here, far from everyone and everything. I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels that way. What do you think about exploring and riding alone? Do you prefer it over group rides? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for coming along on this one. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing and checking out some of my other rides. I'll catch you in the next one.